Stay right here to watch the rest of this video, or click over here to get hold of a free trial of BetAngel, or click over here and subscribe to get instant access to new videos as they're released. Thank you for watching the video.
People often ask me, where does the profit come from when you're trading? How is that sort of magicked out of the market? How is that generated? And this graph is a good illustration. I was about to record a video on something here, traded this race, saw this graph, and just thought, well, this is a good point to illustrate here, so I'll do that. But basically what you can see here is a graph of the favourite, and the chart is showing you that the favourite started at 3.5 when the market opened early. About 2/3 of the way along here is the last 10-15 minutes on this particular graph. So up until the last 10-15 minutes, everybody thought this horse had a 1 in 3 chance of winning effectively. If you want to calculate out the probabilities, you can do a number of ways of doing that. We do have a percentage implied chance chart here, but if we just bring up the calculator, I'll show you how the graph and the odds correlate to the chance of winning. It's useful for what I'm about to tell you. So if the odds on the horse are at 3, if we do 1 divided by 3, you can see it comes up 0.333333. If we convert that to a percentage, it's saying that the horse has a 33% chance of winning the race. So when the price was backed in the early market down to 3, everybody said, the chance of this horse winning is 33%. But then you can see we had this dramatic drift. I was watching the markets and the activity on course on this particular race, and there wasn't anything particularly stunning that caused the price on this horse to go out dramatically. And when you see things like this, you sort of think, well, that's a bit crazy really, because if we do the same calculation, 1 divided by 5, can you see it said there was only a 0.2 or a 20% chance, because if we multiply that by 100 we'll get 20%. There was only a 20% chance of this horse winning the race. So if you look at taking one from the other, basically the odds of this horse, or the chance of this horse winning this race, shifted by 13.3% in this very short period of time. And for that to happen, you'd think that the horse had been shot or something. Or perhaps, it sort of doesn't make any sense really. But actually, this presents you with 2 opportunities in terms of where the market is. Now, if you would have laid this horse at 3, our liability would have been significantly lower than if we laid this horse at 5. So in fact, there's a massive value gap there, a value gap of 13.3%. It makes no sense that the market should go, oh, this horse has got quite a good chance. No, it hasn't. Well, actually, yes, it has. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. One of these has to be wrong. It must be this peak, this trough rather, or this peak. There must have been something wrong with the market's judgment, and it could have been driven by any number of factors. But the fact is, one of these 2 things has to be wrong. It has to be wrong. So that's where you could have actually got a very low lay-in or a very good back-in. And that's one of the fantastic benefits of exchanges, is say you saw the price at 3, and you thought, well, I'm not going to back it at 3, but I would back it at 5. You can actually put your order in the market and wait for the price to reach 5 when it will get taken, and then you can see, you would have got fantastic value out of that. And in fact, you could have traded out of that at some point in the market. And you could have guaranteed yourself a profit, even if you weren't looking for a particular strategy. It could have made for a nice trade. But what I'm trying to illustrate to you here is that one of these 2 points definitely has to have been wrong, and you can see that there were a number of opportunities there to be able to actively trade that or to get value from your bet, and you can only really do that on a betting exchange. You can't do that with a traditional bookmaker. And when you look at this, this also explains where the money comes from. So say there was a £100,000 bet on this horse. We'll simplify this dramatically, but say £50,000 was bet at 3 and £50,000 was bet at 5, then obviously there's a 13% difference of £50,000. So if we do £50,000 multiplied by 0.13, you can see there was £6,500 differential between those 2 points, effectively. If you're saying that there's been a 13% shift in the book at that particular point in time. And that is effectively where the profit comes from when you're trading. The profit comes from other people's indecision, people's inability to understand what price they should be backing at, or perhaps they've taken a worse price than they could have got a few minutes later. But the wonderful thing about pursuing a strategy that exploits this is that if you were backing or laying, you would have backed up here or laid down here and got a much better price than the average price over the course of this entire market. And if you're trading, obviously, this would have been quite a nice opportunity for you. You could have easily taken an opportunity from this. It's impossible for the price of a horse to drift endlessly in a market. It's impossible for the price of a horse to come in endlessly. Or it's very, very unlikely that you'll see that. And that's where the trading opportunity comes from, because very often it will revert to a more sensible price. So whatever the reason behind the drift and then the dramatic collapse back in price, that's where opportunity comes from. If you're a traditional backer in the market, you can always ask for a price that doesn't exist because you will get matched at that higher price. If you're a layer, you've got the opportunity to lay at low prices. Even if the price is coming in dramatically, you'll probably get an opportunity to grab it at a decent price. And if you're trading, the indecision within this market presents the opportunity. That's where the money is in the market. So the way I would summarize trading is you're effectively selling uncertainty and volatility. That's effectively what you're doing when you're trading. And obviously the perfect point here in this market would have been to get in here, but it didn't matter if you didn't get in there. You could have got in at some other point within the market and waited for it to come back down to more reasonable odds. And why would you do that? Well, you know that the market can't permanently go in one direction or the other. The market tends to meander around, and at some point, if people were laying here and the price started going out, laying this horse at 3 was fantastic. Laying it at 5s isn't such a good decision. So eventually people will stop laying it and the price will reverse. And the same goes into the same situation occurs on backers. If you're backing it at 5, that's a great price. But obviously as the price comes down, then the backers will start to weaken within the market when they realize that they're just not getting as good a price as perhaps they would wish for their stake. So anyway, I thought I'd look at this video, talk through those scenarios and explain where the money comes from when you're trading. It's basically through volatility and people either backing or laying at prices that are vastly different from the average price. That's where the opportunity is created. And that's where the money comes from if you're trading and you make a profit and you're wondering how that profit was created.
If you're interested in learning more about BetAngel, its tools and the opportunities they present, then why not visit betangel.com today and download a free trial.